fancy Texan. Hey, I'm Obi. That's Ed. We are drinking from the Garden Hose, your favorite podcast about nothing. Get us wherever you get your podcast. Leave this bastard and that douchebag chill motherfucker a nice. I might have to restart that. Just coming in strong. Give us 5 stars. Like us, subscribe. I don't know. I didn't know how to go with that douchebag chill and make something out of it.
Whoa! I think Obi took that last piece of feedback we got that we should drink every show, and I think he started drinking before we even started.
I may have. I did not, but maybe I did. I don't know. Wow, I'm just dropping F-bombs right off the bat. Definitely make sure I mark this one explicit. And you know, I also got some feedback. A guy who I do swords with. His son is
a guy you do swords with. That's a great way to describe somebody at the cocktail party. Yeah, this guy I do swords with. Like, that's gonna get looks, dude.
Oh yeah, especially since he was like, you know, they talk about how Obi plays with his sword in the shower, and his son went, "How do you play with your sword in the shower?" So
he'll learn soon enough.
He'll learn soon enough. He will absolutely. But we're gonna take a week off from swords and talk about your balls this week. We are going to talk about your ice ball, your adventure with basketball, and apparently some drivers. So let's talk about the amazingness that was your weekend in DC.
We will get there, but first I have to say something. Daylight savings time. This is not a political show, but there's 2 things about this that I got to say about daylight savings time. First, I used to be a big fan of the later hours, but I noticed something today because today was the first work day with the new hours. I worked a lot longer than I normally do. Like, still daylight out. I like, oh shit, time for the podcast. I was still working. That never happened. So that's the first thing about daylight savings time. And then I found out today, because remember, there was a campaign promise that daylight savings time was going to be abolished. And someone was asked about it today. Said it was a 50-50. Half the people like it, half the people don't. So when it's 50-50, you just don't do anything about it. I feel like that's like some of our polls. It's 50-50, we just don't do anything about it.
Well, I will say this. I think of the 50% who don't like daylight savings time, it's because they like standard time. And the 50% who don't like standard time like daylight savings time. But if you ask them if you had to pick one, and I couldn't tell you which one it was going to be, but we weren't going to change clocks anymore, would you be willing to flip a coin to have it locked in for one? I bet you both sides would say yes. No, you wouldn't.
I would not flip a coin to lock it in, because the worst thing that could happen is that it gets dark earlier in the summer. Can you imagine it getting dark at 7 o'clock in the summer and not 8 o'clock? Are you freaking kidding me? No way. I would not sign up for that. And how would you play adult softball? Like, think of all the money we'd have to spend to put lights on all of our fields that we don't currently have. Like, our whole life runs around being daylight longer in the summer. I mean, I don't think people are ready for that. They're not ready for that.
No, there you go. You and I completely disagree. We're going to continue to fall back and just bring ahead.
Are you on the side you don't want to take your kids to school in the dark? Because that's what I heard today. Half the people want to stay longer in the summer, and the other half want their kids to go to school in the daylight.
I don't care about my kids' daylight school. That's not my problem. They drive themselves to school. I told you, I'm a flip the coin guy. Either one. Just stop making me change my clock.
I would never go for flip the coin. Here's the funny thing. The last time we changed clocks, so back in November, this is how lazy I am. You talk about changing clock. I just didn't change my clock. It's not even clock radio, but my clock next to my bed.
Right.
When we changed the clocks back, I never changed it. I just remembered it's an hour off, right? So I still looked at that clock every day, and I just mentally calculated it was an hour off. Then my power went out like 2 weeks ago, and then it was completely off, and I was so screwed. I still didn't change the clock, but I did yesterday. So my clock is telling the right time.
Okay. I'm
all right.
I'm happy that your clock. I have a few clocks that I have to fix around the house, but most of my clocks are connected to the interweb. So we're good on my clocks. My clocks, I have smart clocks.
Well, my bedroom clock didn't have a smart guy operating it. That's for damn sure. That's why I was off. But so you asked about my weekend. So let me tell you about my weekend. My weekend was in Washington, D.C. As you know, my older daughter was playing in the NCAA basketball tournament, so I was down there for that. Great weekend, see some good basketball. But a couple things that I have to get off my chest about my weekend in Washington, D.C. First of all, and my younger daughter said this so eloquently as we were driving. So we were driving, and I knew there was going to be an issue. I just didn't. It's tough to really visualize how the issue is going to be when you look at the map and go, "Oh, we'll pick this hotel. It's only 5 miles away from the venue where the game is, but Google Maps says it's 30 minutes." You got to realize that's going to be a frustrating drive, right?
Yes. Yes.
And sure enough, the reason it's 30 minutes is it's all like side streets through DC with stop signs and traffic lights and idiots. That's really what it comes down to, is idiots. Multiple times, Maryland drivers, DC drivers, they must go on their phone when they're at a red light, but the light turns green and they're just sitting there.
Wait, Ed, I want to know. Hold on a second. You said your daughter said it eloquently. What did she say?
Well,
What was her
I'm
quote?
gonna get to that.
You're gonna get. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Sorry, my bad.
I'm setting the story up. Give me some
Jeez.
room. Let me cook.
All right, I'll let it
youngins.
breathe. Cook away.
Yeah.
Cook away.
Let me
go
cook,
get
as the
another beer.
youngins say. So anyway, multiple times, I had to honk my horn to tell people it's time to go. And I was not in a super northeast anxiety. Yeah, I was actually. I was probably honking early, but either way, I honked multiple times. Other times, people were on a one-lane road with curbs, so you couldn't go around a car making a left. And these cars are sitting at the white line of the red of the intersection to make a left. You know, you're supposed to pull out into the intersection so that when it turns yellow, you can at least go at that point. So at least one car goes. These idiots stood there and you couldn't go around them. And there was a lot of traffic. Anyway, 2 cycles of a whole freaking light before I could go because of one car couldn't make a left. So I was just frustrated. I was voicing my concerns. And my daughter says, "You ready? Here's the payoff, Obi." My daughter says, "Wow, I thought Massachusetts drivers were bad, but these people take the cake." And I'm like, "You're damn right they do." And my wife, who's from Massachusetts, goes, "What are you talking about?"
So
payoff.
your wife was suggesting that Massachusetts drivers are in fact worse than Maryland, DC drivers.
My daughter was suggesting that, well, yeah, I guess that's what my wife was saying. I think, no, she was actually just pissed that Massachusetts was mentioned.
I understand, but you know, that's what the youngest do. They know how to take a dig at somebody while getting something else across. Like, let me give mom a little tweak while hitting up the situation.
Constant dig.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the driving is atrocious. So, but we deal with the driving. That's not a big deal. Then on Saturday, that was Friday, every time I drove. But then on Saturday, we went sightseeing. The game wasn't until 7 o'clock at night. We had some time to kill. So we go into DC to see the sights. And we end up parking near the White House. And so we go walking by the White House. And all I could think as I'm walking by the White House, and there was a lot of people there holding signs, and there was a lot of Secret Service there, kept thinking to myself, this is where bad things happen, when you have all these people around and people with guns and people who aren't happy. You know, you could tell from the signs, like, this is when, like, we probably shouldn't be hanging out here, you know? So again, we walked quickly. Wouldn't you know, the news later that night, somebody got shot in front of the White House.
Well, Ed, you were bringing the karma.
I don't know about that, but later I'm walking by a pro-Ukrainian protest, like a real one, like a lot of people chanting signs. I'm like, damn, this is the first protest I've ever really been in close proximity to. Like, I think I want to go over there and get involved in this. I mean, it'll be my first protest. And of course, my wife is like, "Do you really want to do that?" And then I thought twice about it. I'm like, that's where people get shot. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to. You get pepper sprayed, the cops get pissed. Next thing you know, I'm on the nightly news getting arrested. So I did not go participate in the protest, but I almost was in my first protest, Opie.
Well, and that is obviously why we're not a political show. If you're 50 years old, white hair over there, and never been in a protest. Obviously not politically inclined enough to do a political show, but we will talk about the traffic and how it drives us crazy, as well as why won't they fix the clock situation. But I know I see where we draw the line. Non-protestable shit. That's where we draw the line in Ed's life, because we might get shot.
You could get shot. I mean, I
get shot.
The news. Bad stuff happens at protests. Shot or pepper sprayed, one or the other.
Well, speaking of shots, which day was it that Sam sank 3 foul shots?
That was Saturday night. That was Saturday night. She got it in played. So I got to tell you one other story that I think is comical, and my younger daughter had a lot of fun with this one too. So we get to the Lincoln Memorial. So we did the White House. Then we went
people who were shot.
Yeah, well, yeah, my daughter's like, he's my favorite president. I want to see where he was shot. I'm like, kind of interesting that was all in the same sentence. Favorite president, but I want to see where he died. Okay. But so we
did you go there? No, I don't. I think it's a little farther.
Oh, wait, no, I'll tell you that part too. So we go to White House, walk from the White House to the Washington Monument, walk from the Washington Monument to the World War II Monument. Those of you familiar with DC, these are all relatively close. They look a lot closer than they are when you start walking to them. But anyway, I've walked it before. So we go to the World War II Memorial. Then we walk down the reflecting pond to the Vietnam Memorial. Then we hit the Lincoln Memorial, go up all those steps. And then we hit the Korean War Memorial. And then we made it back for lunch. So we're doing a lot of walking. At one point during the walking, my younger daughter says, I just can't handle these forces of gravity. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, the forces of gravity, they're just making all the blood go to my feet. I'm not good at walking, she said. Like, all right, you're good at the forces of gravity when your whole body's laying horizontal in your bed, though, right? Yeah, those forces of gravity, even. Even
forces of gravity. Okay.
So she wants a picture at the Lincoln Memorial. I'm like, let's just do a selfie, because I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to ask anybody to take a picture. I saw National Lampoon's European Vacation, where the guy asked him to get into the fountain and he ran off with their camcorder, right? I've been haunted ever since I saw that movie, so I don't want to ask people. Like, the last thing I want to do is give my phone to somebody. So, but my daughter's like, no, selfies. Nobody wants selfies. We want a real photo. We want somebody to take the picture. So my wife goes, fine, you little babies. I'll ask somebody. So then my daughter looks at me. She goes, we're going to use your phone. I'm like, no, we're not. Because I don't want mine stolen. I'm like, so we both have the same trauma. So my wife says,
would you say that this is a reasonable fear or an irrational fear? Because you said you had no reasonable or irrational fears, but now I think we found one.
No, this is an irrational fear. People don't steal your phone. I don't have rational fears. I have irrational fears. Remember, I said I have irrational fears. That's an irrational fear, that someone's going to steal my phone and run off with it.
Right, because they don't.
So these people are walking by, and my daughter says to my wife, "Well, are you going to ask somebody?" And my wife goes, "I'm trying to wait until an English-speaking person comes by. Like, she can tell by looking at people if they speak English." Clearly, she can't, because then she goes, "Can you take a picture?" She goes, "Ooh." I don't even, I'll get canceled if I even try to do an accent, so I'm not going to do it. But it was clear the guy did not speak English.
Parlez-vous français?
Of course, my daughter started ribbing my wife right away. Of course, the very nice gentleman took our picture, but as soon as we start walking away, my daughter goes, "Wait for the English-speaking one, huh, Ma?" Oh, my wife got so pissed. It's pretty funny, though.
I see that in your house. What you do is when you get angry at your wife, what you do is you egg on your daughter so she can bother your wife and you can be innocent and set free.
Well, Obi, it just works out that way. I wasn't mad at my wife.
I know you weren't mad at your wife. Now I'm saying in times when maybe your wife has asked you one too many times to do something or whatever, that's when you remind Sam of something your wife did that Sam will then go and pick on your wife for.
No, it's Alex that picks on my wife.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Alex also picks on me, by the way.
That's right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean Alex, not Sam. My bad.
She's an equal opportunity picker on her, as I think they say.
Okay. All right. So we got all over DC, took a picture. insulted English speakers, insulted non-English speakers. Favorite president was shot. We want to see where they were shot, and we don't mean in the back of the head. Oh,
So wait, we did go over to lunch by Ford's Theater, right?
okay, yeah.
Sitting at lunch, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, it's only a block and a half away. And my daughter, she goes, "I'm not walking there. Maybe we'll drive by it." I go, "One-way streets. I'm not driving by it." So
Gravity.
Gravity. The forces of gravity kept us from going to see Ford's Theater.
Okay. All right.
All right. To top it off, because I know you're having a lot of fun with this. To top it all off, if you recall, and our listeners may not know this, but it's a tournament. So the game was Friday. If they lost Friday, we were coming home Saturday, right? But they won Friday. So I had to stay Saturday night, right? But I had a volleyball tournament on Sunday for Alex that we had to get to. And it was at noon in Connecticut. So we had to leave at 6 a.m. on Sunday. See, I'm going to tie this all back to the beginning.
What question here?
Yeah.
Is Sam traveling with you guys or Sam on the team bus?
She's with the team. She's got her own hotel room. She's got her own roommate, everything. She didn't even really want to be with us the first night. The second night, she hung out with us. But Obi, what happened on Saturday night? Daylight savings time. We lost an hour. So when I say I had to leave at 6 a.m. on Sunday, I was leaving at 5 a.m. At least that's on my body work, right? So I had to get up at 5:30 a.m., which was really 4:30 a.m. to drive home. So when we talk about daylight savings time and changing the clocks, now I know why people have heart attacks after they do that.
Yeah.
Get up ungodly hours.
Yeah, and they usually have a day rest on it before because it's usually, they don't hurt themselves on Sunday to get to a volleyball tournament. They hurt themselves to get to work on Monday. They get up that earlier
so
time.
Today's the day I could have died because I got up early yesterday?
No, you were trying to kill yourself a day early. That's
yeah. Almost. So anyway, that put a bow on the weekend. So I did basketball, historical sites, basketball, volleyball. What a weekend.
What and a huge upset in that first basketball game that you have not bragged on the podcast for Sam the way you did on Facebook, but congratulations to Montclair for their first round huge upset. It looked like I couldn't tell for sure.
It was. They beat the number 3 team in the country. So yes, it was an upset.
So
what do you think? What do you think a proud dad does after a big upset like that?
Drinks IPAs as opposed to a nice light beer.
He drinks IPAs and he stays out until 1:30 in the morning.
Go Dad.
With the other parents.
Nice. Is this your first true meeting of those parents, or have you guys bonded along the way at some of the games?
Well, I think you bond like in the seats, right? Like you talk to people before the game, maybe at halftime, maybe the person you get stuck sitting. Yeah, I say stuck. It's not, it's general admission. So when you show up, seats there, you sit next to the guy. Hey, how you doing? Who's your daughter? And you gotta kind of go through a season that way. But this was the first time I would say we really broke bread with the other parents. There was a dinner after the game, so all the girls went out and all the parents were out. Of course, the girls sat at their own table, parents sat. But that was the first time I've really had beer and food with the other parents. And then we went back to the hotel and hung out in the lobby of the hotel. Had a few more drinks and telling stories and things like that. So yeah, it was the first time.
Excellent news. So we've now talked about volleyball. We've now talked about basketball. And I promised everyone this show is about Ed's balls. Ed, you were so excited after our show last week to talk to me about your ice balls. So why don't you tell everyone about your ice balls?
I will. So I'll get into it because you gave me a look that was like I'm a weirdo. And so I bet you over half our listeners are on my side on this one. I don't think this is a 50-50. So I was talking to Obi. I know Obi is a whiskey drinker, which is why I was shocked he was drinking garage beer on our last podcast. So I know he's a whiskey drinker. So I was saying to him after we got done with the last podcast, I'm like, oh, by the way, do you have a contraption to make clear ice for your drinks? And he just laughed at me. He goes, what the hell? He goes, first of all, I drink my stuff neat, so I don't need ice. But why would you need clear ice, right? And Obi, what did I tell you? I told you because it's classy, right? Remember that?
Or douche chill. But you did say classy.
No, I said classy. You said it makes you even more douche chill now. That's what you said. So I have a thing that I can make. It's a contraption. I call it a contraption because it really is. It's like this huge thing, and I can make one ice ball with it. And it takes 24 hours to make the ice ball, and then you got to keep doing it. And Obi thinks that's funny. So here's the question. How many other people make ice balls? Or you can make clear cubes as well. But Obi, Saturday night, I went out to dinner, ordered an old fashioned, and what do you think I got? A clear ball, ice ball.
So you and the other parents had clear balls, and at the
No, I was by myself Saturday night. I was with just my family unit on Saturday. Friday night, I was drinking the IPAs. Then on Saturday, I had the clear ice ball. Two of them, actually, matter of fact.
But it'd be right not to have two balls. That would be a problem. But
Yeah, if you only had one ball, that would be a problem, I think.
not having two balls, or
Yeah.
having three balls, which might be a high ball.
Maybe. But so the question, but it's not, I don't think it's douche chill to have clear ice. I mean, if you're gonna have a drink, a nice whiskey drink, I think you want to have the classy ice.
I think if you're out, sure, but if you're at home, then you have to have extra ice in your freezer for your drinks. Which, by the way, I used to have the little. I didn't enjoy the little ice rocks. You put them in the freezer. They're just like a stone. They get cold. They don't melt.
Right.
But I also looked into these contraptions as soon as we got off to figure out how they work and everything. And I just think that, if you're having guests, sure, bring it out, look cool. But when you're alone, if you're going to be messing up your whiskey with ice anyway, a regular ice cube will suffice.
No, here's where you're wrong, Obi. Because a regular ice cube, we talked about this too, and I know you're just doing this for show, because I think you know this, but if you don't, I'm going to educate you. Regular ice cubes are smaller. There's more surface area. They melt faster, which means it waters your drink down. The clear ice cubes are larger and they're like a ball, right? They less surface area. They don't melt as quick, which means you don't water your drink down. Same concept of putting a cold rock in your drink.
Well, no, listen. Your big ball can be multiple big non-clear balls. You can have two non-clear balls for when guests come over that are of a hefty size, big balls that you can give one to your friend who's over and keep one for yourself. Or you can get an extra contraption that requires you to freeze your ball and force the air out the bottom of the hole in the bottom of the ball so that you have clear balls to share with your guests. Your guests who are, let's be honest, they will be impressed when you pour them a drink over a big ball of ice. That is a single ball. But when you bring out two clear balls that are banging together, I think they're going to look at you funny.
Here's the thing, though, and you know this as well. If you're going to have a regular non-clear ball, it's still a form, a mold you have to have. It's not like regular ice cubes. So it still takes up space in your freezer. So if you're going to take up space in your freezer, you might as well make it a clear ball than a frosty ball.
But correct me if I'm wrong, you have a ball mold and a cup that the ball mold sits in. So your balls are in the cup.
Oh, yeah,
and protected.
It's bigger than my other ball mold. Yes.
Okay, because it's being protected by a cup.
My other ball mold has 4 balls in it, whereas my clear ball is 1 ball. See, it's 1 ball versus 4 balls.
Okay. You got a lot of balls in your freezer, dude.
The 4 balls are smaller, too. Those are small balls versus the large ball.
Well, you could go get a big set of 4 balls, like 2 and 2. 2 sets of balls.
I don't know. A big set of balls would be intimidating, I think, to make,
They might be. And to holding some big balls can make your hands cold.
Oh, I've never held something that big, I don't think. I like the balls, they got to fit nicely in the glass, the balls.
Okay. So,
and be clear.
All right. Well, we'll see how the rest of our fan base feels about balls, whether they should be big and clear or round and salty. And hopefully you'll go to our website, gardenhose.vercel.com, go to the episodes page and comment on this episode, comment on past episodes, because we want to hear from you. 'Cause that's where the community is. So like I said, like us where you get us, rate us there, but then come and join the conversation on the webpage. Ed, do we have anything else on the agenda? We've talked about bad drivers, we've talked about basketball, volleyball, ice balls. Anything else? I mean, usually you want to comment on what was said on the webpage, and I know you were whining on the comments.
Well, first of all, no. Okay, so can I whine about that? Thanks for pointing this out. So, on the webpage, I whined about a certain poll that you put up. Yet, I got no love from my whining. There wasn't even we can reply now. Nobody replied to me. Nobody even replied the old way where they put a separate post telling me I was a bitch. Nothing. And that was the most unsatisfying post I've ever made, which was whining about probably the most satisfying post you've ever made. Or poll.
Listen, I was so satisfied with my post and your whining that I didn't mind that people didn't either take your side or not take your side. But I do agree. I was a little shocked by the lack of response that our users let you get off with there. Like they let you off easy. And I got to say, it kind of sucked. The charm is that we suck. I'm Obi. That's Ed. Guess wherever you get your podcast. Catch you next time on Drinking from the Garden Hose.